I've seen one retirement expense throw off a financial strategy like that, meaning everything was dialed in, their investments, their tax strategy, their withdrawal plan, but all of a sudden one expense went ahead and caused them to have to go back to work. And you don't want that to be you. So today I'm going to tell you the 3 main retirement expenses that I see that tend to catch people off guard or that they tend to just forget about. So if you are watching this video right now, it's likely that you're interested in an early retirement. Trying to retire before 65, you're trying to navigate investing, tax strategy, withdrawal, healthcare, you name it. That's what I like to make content on. So I invite you to subscribe if you're looking for strategies to help along with all of that. My name is Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner and I'm the host of the Early Retirement Podcast. Let's hop right in. I'm going to tell you a quick story so you can understand why this expense is important. Then I'm going to show you how to protect against it. I asked my client, in a dream world, how much would they spend on their kid's wedding? They said, I don't know, but like $40,000. If I could help them out with that, that'd be awesome. I said, okay, but like dream world, they go 80,000. I go, so if you had 80,000, I could do everything. They go, well, maybe like 100. I go, okay. So they go dream world, $100,000. They go, yep, we could do everything we want. I say, great. I don't want you to do that. They go, then why would we do this dumb exercise? You just got me excited for nothing. I go, because what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to be sitting at your kid's wedding going, oh my gosh, did I just overpay? And did I just give too much to the point where that's now jeopardizing my retirement? I don't want you to do that. So to this particular client, I was able to come back to them and say, don't spend 100,000, spend 125, because if you don't, you're still on track for $3 million. And you told me very specifically, your goal is not to die with $3 million. And they're like, oh my gosh, how much can I spend? How does that change when I retire? So the point here is I don't want you to give too much to your child where all of a sudden you're jeopardizing your retirement, but I also don't want you to go, okay, I just helped out my child, $20,000, $30,000, and right now they're in school and they're going to become a physician or whatever it is, and they're going to have a healthy income, but for today, this is the time when they could really use these funds. I just want to know how much can I gift? And being in that sweet spot of going, hey, I know confidently I can give $40,000 or 50 or 100, and it's not going to impact my retirement. That's special, because if you're there eating dinner going, hey, I'm worried about how much I just gave when it comes to my retirement, then you don't have a financial strategy. So number one is understand how much can you give, and think about a wedding specifically. It could be a wedding, it could be a car. Is there a big purchase that you would like to help out a child, a family member, a friend with that you just wouldn't do because financially you think you're not in a spot to do so? Once again, I've discussed this in previous videos. I am the meanest early retirement advisor. I don't want anyone to retire too early and run the risk of going back to work or running out of money. So I'm always conservative when I do my planning, but some people are just too conservative where they come to me and they go, hey, I don't want to run the risk of X, Y, or Z. I'm not going to help out with any giving. I want to make sure I don't run out of money. I say, you can do that, but you're really not living your best life. You're in a fine spot where you can give and still not run the risk of running out. My background is in the insurance industry. So before I was even a holistic financial planner, I was in insurance, and I always coin the phrase, and they still use it to this day from what they tell me in the office, that there's 3 types of insurance. There's underinsured, overinsured, and unnecessarily insured. Okay, I don't want you to be unnecessarily insured. I want you to be overinsured. I want to make sure you have coverage if you need coverage. What I don't want you to do is unnecessarily go buy a policy if it wouldn't even pay out. It's not necessary. You're unnecessarily buying this. A lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, I don't want to die with $10 million and I don't have children that I want to leave specific assets to, or I do, but I don't want to leave them $5 million each. And so I want to make sure I know how much can I give when the money is actually worth more to them before they have the funds to be able to fund their own weddings and their own retirement, and they have time, so I don't want to jeopardize myself. It's a tough balancing act, but that's the important one. So first, ask yourself, how much in a dream world would you love to help people around you with? So $100,000 for a wedding, $50,000 for a car, $10,000 for a trip, whatever it is. Write those down and go, hey, am I in a position to do these? Like, go through planning, but you start with asking yourself to dream big. Doesn't mean you get to do it, but too often I've seen people go, once again, I'm not going to help out at all. And I've seen people help out too much where now they are jeopardizing their retirement. Number 2 is long-term care. So long-term care policies can be great. They can make you sleep well at night. They can feel really good because you go, hey, if something happens, I'm going to be okay. The truth is, I've seen a lot of long-term care policies go to complete waste. You're paying these premiums. You don't even end up using the policy. You pass away really quickly, and you just paid a bunch of premiums to an insurance company that just kind of took a bet on you, hoping that you would get sick and pass away early and they wouldn't have to pay for your coverage. So what I often like to ask my clients is I'll say, do you need to have this policy? Do you need to go purchase it? The sweet spot, if you are going to purchase it, is in your 50s. You don't want to purchase it too late. You don't want to purchase it too early. It's kind of an odd balancing act there. But it's worth getting a quote, and we help our clients get everything in order. Now, I don't sell insurance. I don't sell anything. I don't have anything for sale other than me. So I don't get commissions or kickbacks or any of that. Oftentimes I'll say, yep, this client needs a long-term care policy. I'm going to connect them to the right person. Other times I'll say, you know what? I don't want you to do that. Even though, yes, I want to make sure we're protecting against long-term care, I want you to self-insure instead. I want you to create a new account, and let's assume that they quote you a $10,000 annual premium. Don't pay it to the insurance company, pay it to yourself. Over time, that $10,000 invested even moderately, that's going to more than likely cover all of your expenses. And if God forbid something happens and you pass away shortly after being in medical care, well, now those assets transfer to your heirs. Also, if you determine, wait a second, turns out my health care is at this kind of unbelievable degree where I'm just worried I'm going to always want basic coverage. Okay, maybe we buy a long-term care policy that covers the basics, and then anything above that, we're self-insuring. Maybe it's a balancing act. The one thing I want to show you, though, is this right here. This is a graph I'll share with my clients. Long-term care, there's legislation surrounding that. So you can see there's different legislation for the state you're in. So, for example, Washington right now, it's active. In California, legislation is progressing. In Texas, there's no legislation even being discussed about. There's no discussions here. So I would hope your advisor would come to you and say, hey, this is something we need to get ahead of, meaning even if we don't necessarily need long-term care, or you just saw your parents didn't end up getting to use their policy, it's something we want to consider. And because of that, let's get a policy before everyone else gets one and premiums shoot way up. Other times, we'll say, hey, don't worry about it. Like, you're in a great spot based on XYZ and our discussions. You don't even need to start looking into this. Let's self-insure early on. You're going to be in a fine spot. So making sure that you're, one, complying with the state's requirements, but two, staying up to date as legislation changes here. This is a big one. So this is a long-term care legislation graph. This is the same type of conversation I'll have with clients when it comes to auto and home and umbrella. You need to make sure that you have coverage in place. You don't pay for anything you don't need to, but you might say, hey, I don't need anything. I'm going to self-insure. I love this concept. I pay myself instead of the insurance company. But then all of a sudden you start to get in trouble because you just didn't have a required policy. Number 3 is home improvements. Too often people will say, yeah, I think I'm in a good spot to retire. Then all of a sudden they do retire. They're really happy and they're loving life because they're traveling and they've got their energy and their health. And all of a sudden, boom, they need to fix the bathroom. And they're like, wait a second, markets went down. I'm also traveling and I got to fix the bathroom. Well, if 3-4 expenses pile on one another in these years before Social Security is turned on, that's a lot of pressure to put on your portfolio. And if markets are down, it could cause your withdrawal rate to be out of whack where you're taking way too much out and it's jeopardizing the rest of your retirement, how much you can spend. So the way you protect against that, I'll often tell my clients, I want you 3, 4, 5 years ahead of retirement to see what you can identify. You can't do it perfectly. Don't get lost in the sauce. But if you're able to, start to go, you know what, this bathroom's already leaking. I can tell I'm going to need to fix it. Rather than maybe add more dollars to my 401k, I'm going to start to protect against this risk here because my 401k is in a good spot. It's going to keep compounding, but this is something that could really jeopardize my early retirement, especially if there's travel and healthcare and markets go down. That's a big risk. And so I'm always trying to protect against that early retirement aspect, which is if you retire early and you need to withdraw a lot out of your portfolio during these key years, that's not going to mean you have to go back to work all the time, but it's going to mean you're going to spend way less for the rest of your retirement, and that's a big risk. So I don't say this to scare you. I'm the meanest early retirement advisor because I want you to retire with total confidence knowing you're never going to run the risk of running out of money. So the first few years of retirement, I'm not saying don't spend. I'm saying, can we start to protect ourselves so that if you want to help out with a wedding or a vacation or a new car or long-term care, if you're trying to get ahead of the curve here, can you protect against these things ahead of time so that the first few years of retirement, even if markets do go down, maybe you're taking one less trip because your withdrawal rate would be, not sustainable. Or maybe you're going, you know what, I'm in a good spot. I planned for this. My advisor tells me I'm in a fine spot. I'm going to go do this. this. So I want to make sure you're doing all the right things. I just don't want you doing it with any hesitancy or what I call head trash, where you go, yeah, I think I'm going to do it and I'm going to hope markets perform. And if they don't, well, that would suck. But, I'm doing it anyway. I don't like hope as a financial strategy. I'm going to pick an honorable mention here to be school. It's really common for you to want to help out your child with school, which is awesome. And your retirement projections might look great, where you can see you're never going to run out of money, but your retirement projections and your cash flow, those are different things. So although your retirement might look awesome, if you need to cash flow $200,000 for a few different children for college and you haven't saved and they don't have 529s, you might need to keep working, not to make a crazy amount of money, but to make sure that you can cash flow college and just not take money from somewhere else. So I'll often tell clients, I'll say, hey, would you please go take a job? I know you're going to love it. It only pays $20,000. They're like, yeah, well, what good is that? I made $200,000 my whole career. And now you're telling me I can, make $20,000. Like, what the heck's going on? I go, it's not 20 that I care about. It's 20 less that's coming from your portfolio. It's 20 less that we're having to pull from another big important income source for you for the rest of your life. If you can resist pulling 20 from over here and letting that grow, that's the power. That's what I need to have happen. So if you're bringing in 20 or 30 or $40,000 through a job you really enjoy, there's a lot of weight to doing that. And most people just overlook it because they go, what good is that compared to what I made my whole career? So don't forget that when you're thinking about planning. Now, if you're looking for a holistic financial strategy that puts together investing and tax and withdrawal and estate, so we love to do. So I invite you to reach out. We do have a wait list at the moment, but I want to make sure that if you're even interested in planning, that you inquire, because we love the opportunity of helping people just like you guys. Please do like this video if it was helpful and subscribe for more information just like this.